Life originates from water, and without water, there is no life on earth as we know it. In many cultures, including Igbo culture, the life-giving and sustaining power of water is associated with womanhood. This ancient wisdom is attested in proverbs such as Ndumeri Nduazu, so long as there is a living body of water, there's live fishes in it, and also in names such as Neka, Mother is Supreme. A little bit about my sources and my background. I was first introduced to Igbo culture by Professor Ikena Nzimaro of Oguta, who encouraged me to expand his own research in 1978. I lived there for an entire year, and when I learned about the divine pair of water deities, Uhamari and Urashi, or Ogbuide and Urashi, and I have continually expanded and updated my research ever since. Is this actually on? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. What I've learned from this research on the female side of the universe is ever relevant. Thus, although many events and statements I have recorded took place in the past, I am presenting them in the ethnographic present. This is to acknowledge the continued vitality and relevance of Igbo culture, its achievements and its wisdom, especially on the existential significance of water and of women. I prioritize local beliefs and knowledge. Ethnography, I'm an anthropologist, so ethnography relies on first-hand participant observation, interviews and oral literature, including casual conversations, stories, prayers, invocations, and songs, sometimes directed at spirits, ancestors, or deities. These were very, very important sources of my research, these recordings. And all of the original texts were carefully tape recorded and transcribed in Igbo and then translated later in English. My own mother tongue is German, while most of the relevant oral sources are in Igbo. So the English language serves as a lingua franca in my research, for communication in my research, and for its presentation. Ogbuide, the goddess of Oguta Lake, is also known as Mami Water. However, the locals use this foreign name only under certain circumstances, such as in conversations with foreigners or outsiders, that is, people who are not from the immediate Oguta area, and under special circumstances, special conditions of vocation and priesthood. Dr. Mrs. Chinwe Achebe explains this attitude when she writes, Nemmiri is a female deity with variants of local names, for example, Idimili. With the arrival of Europeans to this part of the world, Nemmiri became known as Mami Water, a translation which enabled the local inhabitants communicate the existence and exploits of this female deity to foreigners. Ogbuide, the goddess of Oguta Lake, is generally known or recognized as Mother. She is credited with giving, sustaining, and protecting life. Yet she is also venerated with awe. This is evident in everyday life, oral texts, and the literature, such as in the novels by Oguta-born novelist Flora Nwapa. The lake goddess has multiple names, just like the people who worship her. Uhamari is her ancient local name, while the contemporary designation Ogbuide may be traced to a wave of immigration from Benin. The goddess title is Izimri, and for those of you who were here when the film presentation was, you heard it. And this is used in prayers and when addressing her respectfully, such as in Izimri Diegu, the water monarch is awesome. Ogbuide's priesthood is, this is the mother. The priesthood is traditionally hereditary and male. However, additional male and female individuals may attain this priesthood, through vocation associated with healing and initiation. They are known as mummy water priests and priestesses. Some are diviners or herbalists. A mummy water priestess may lead a group of fellow worshippers who are often former patients. At Oguta, these groups are known as Ndimri, who meet regularly once in the 4-day Igbo market week to hold services for Ogbuide on Oria Day. Each group has its own music, dances, and costumes. And their versatile artistic experiences are also therapies to some members, and psychologically significant. The water goddess is part of the pre-Christian Igbo pantheon of gods and goddesses. The supreme being, Chukwu, is beyond shape and gender. Members of the pantheon below Chukwu may act as mediators and messengers, but also hold divine powers of their own. There are two complementary sides. On the one side are the largely male ancestors who founded human custom and civilization, while the other hand includes the nourishing yet more volatile, awesome forces of nature, the female earth goddess and the female water goddess. The water goddess occupies a preeminent position in the eternal cycle of life outlined by Dr. Mrs. Chinwe Achebe in her book, The World of the Ogbanye. In the circular concept of life and time, the human being must pass through water twice, once before being born and again after death. Of course, Europeans are familiar with Greek mythology and the crossing of the river Styx in order to get to Hades. It's a similar idea, but in this case it's circular, so you have to cross the water again before being born. Water is linked in this cosmology to life, to death, and to the birth of a new life. Furthermore, the water goddess' role at the prenatal transition is crucial. She is believed to control the crossroads, and you find references to the crossroads over and over again. For example, in Achebe's Sacrificial Egg. There, she challenges human beings before their reincarnation to either live up to their destiny or change it with the water goddess' help. A change of destiny will in turn require gratitude, service, and obedience to the goddess later in life. Ogbuide is primarily venerated as the life giver. People pray to the goddess for children, yet Oguta's renowned novelist Flora Nwapa has cast doubt on the lake goddess' ability to grant children. However, Nwapa had her own agenda, pursuing issues of modern womanhood and especially emphasizing a woman's worth beyond producer of children. Thus, some of Nwapa's texts may seem provocative to people who worship Ogbuide. This has also been misunderstood by some researchers to suggest that Uhamri has no children. From the local perspective, a barren water goddess is a preposterous proposition. Such ideas are actually spread by Christian proselytizers who aim at discrediting native beliefs in favor of the gospel. Yet a careful reading of Flora Nwapa reveals that she did not intend to discredit Ogbuide, water, woman's power to give and protect life. Because if you look carefully in Efuro, in Idu, in her other novels, the individuals who negate the lake goddess' gifts are actually liars and negative characters who harm the novel's heroines. Nwapa's questioning of Ogbuide, water, woman's life-giving power, was a critique of some of Oguta's customary norms and ideas. Nwapa was a womanist who supported women's issues, yet while she emphasized women's worth and potentials beyond procreation, she did not intend to unravel the entire culture. And I did a lengthy interview with her in 1988, I think, which was published in this book, Emerging Perspectives on Flora and Wapa, edited by Marie Ume. Ogbuide's husband is the river god Urashi. Ideally, the divine pair works together to achieve procreation and a productive life. The ideal of complementary duality or complementary binarism is a core concept of Igbo culture. It is expressed in names and in proverbs such as, when the right hand washes the left and the left hand washes the right hand, the two will be clean. Or, when husband and wife are in patient accord, a slice of yam can last them the 4 months of scarcity. I have the Igbo originals here, but I'm not trying to read them to you. It will take too long. And a very prominent proverb is, one thing stands and some other thing stands beside it. In Professor Ejizu's words, these proverbs express, quote, the fundamental Igbo principle that nothing stands alone by itself. Of course, human marriages are not always as harmonious as portrayed in the divine ideal. Flora and Wapa challenges the idealized divine harmony when she portrays Uhamuri and her husband Urashi as constantly quarreling in her children's book, Mami Water. Ogbuide is the major reference point in the daily life of the rural riverine Igbo communities around Oguta Lake. The major traditional economic activities, such as farming and fishing, are ritually connected to the flooding and falling waters of Oguta Lake and its tributaries. And there's another video that I made. It's about Owu, and it's about this annual festival, which is because of the flooding, and it's complicated because it's about the whole economic cycle and all this, but it's related to the water again. Moreover, Ogbuide's rules once guided all communal activities and behavioral codes of Oguta society. Especially, the people's reproductive norms were attributed to the lake goddess. For example, one example is the requirement of postpartum sexual abstinence for an entire 2-year period of breastfeeding. This practice, in turn, results in birth spacing and, moreover, in the formation of named male and female age grades every 3 years. And it was interesting because when I lived there in the village in 78, 79, it was really actually women who enforced that. And they would refer to the water goddess in order to enforce this abstinence with their husbands. The husbands wouldn't dare to, do something that was against the water goddess laws at that time. So through this institution of the named age grades, which in turn are related to the requirements of the water goddess, people can trace their personal and communal history, and they also carry out communal projects. Now, Ogbuide is perceived as a nourishing and loving, but also a strict mother. The harbinger of children and wealth, Ogbuide's wrath is feared. She is volatile. She may change a person's destiny. She harbors both fortune and doom. She brings life, but she can also take life. She brings medicines, but she also can bring illness and death, especially to those who are ungrateful for her gifts or who do not follow her rules. Although credited with enforcing custom, the water goddess domain is transition and change. She is dynamic and may change her appearance just like Igbo custom is dynamic and may be adapted to new circumstances rather than being a static entity as portrayed by the colonial regime. Due to this inherent flexibility, a Mami Water priestess group of worshippers may even include and protect twins and mothers of twins, otherwise scorned in custom. Ogbuide's messenger and sacred emblem is the python. Pythons were once held sacred in many parts of Igbo land, the Niger Delta, and Benin. Pythons were regarded as messengers of God, and especially of the water and earth goddesses. In many places, a python was buried like a human being, if accidentally killed. In the Oguta area, many local stories attest to the python's special position and power. The snakes of the popular Mami Water icon are commonly referred to as pythons. Like the goddess on whose behalf they appear and act, pythons are associated with the gift of life, but also with death and eternity. And those of you who were here watched when Palmer was doing this chalk drawing of this particular chalk drawing on the ground. A python, and this drawing represents the python. And in this case, he was forecasting the death of one of his patients. And a python may carry a message in this way, or it may punish. And for example, in Antilles of the Savannah, there is this story about the python who killed somebody. Situated and vacillating between the worlds of the living and the dead, the python is prominently associated with healing. On a Mami Water priestess signboard, the python powerfully signals medicines, like the snake on the Greek Asclepiad, used by medical doctors worldwide to advertise their practice and recognized by patients to this day. The python represents divine force enabling life over death through healing. Now, a very different line of thoughts interprets the enigmatic creature negatively. The idea of a female goddess, female empowerment, duality, the complementary binarism of man and woman, of water the life giver, of circular time and reincarnation are all alien to Christian and Muslim ideologies alike. The snake was once associated with the divine power of procreation, life, death, and the eternal cycle of reincarnation. Yet fundamentalists regard this creature as an icon of sin and evil.
Sorry, Sabine.
Can I have 1 minute?
Yes, just 1 minute.
I'm wrapping up. This is my last. So today, the water goddess and other traditional beliefs, achievements, and practitioners are violently attacked by fanatics in a rapidly changing Nigeria. The unraveling of Igbo culture, its history and wisdom is alarming. For, as Adiele Afikpo has warned, quote, to embrace new ways of doing and being is one thing. To completely turn your back on the old ways of doing and being, which kept you going for millennia and which brought you to the point where you were able to embrace new ways, is an entirely different thing. It signifies death of the essence. So my conclusion, water is increasingly recognized as the most valuable natural asset. A resource of tremendous value must neither be wasted nor polluted if we are to preserve human life on Earth. Likewise, men and women must remember to respect each other in order to benefit. Even without worshipping water, woman, we owe her respect. Man's failure to respect his culture, natural environment, and fellow humans has devastating consequences. There are important lessons to be learned from Igbo culture in general, and particularly from its beliefs focusing on life, female fecundity, water, the forces of nature, and duality. Even without believing in water as a divine force, one ought to respect those who do. A well-known Igbo proverb teaches us, let the kite perch and let the eagle perch also.